everyone.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Letitia.
Hi. So we are live today with Miracle Speak. We sorry about last week. A lot was happening last week, so we didn't even have a chance or anything to really do much of anything last week. So hold on. Yeah, I'm not on here live.
Neither am
Can you see
I.
me, Samantha?
No. Hold on, let me check you out.
Oh,
Let me
I'll
go
take
to
it back. That's what happened when you don't wait.
Oh, see, now I'm on your I see that we're live on your
I see
page.
it. Woo! So I'm super excited. And so today we're going to discuss something that a lot of people don't talk about, and that's the loneliness of the miracle, right? What does that mean? How is it that you're walking in God's miracle and yet you still have this loneliness? Because a lot of times people don't understand the miracle and they don't understand the faith, because not all miracles are like 100% instantaneous. We all want that miracle. We all want the one where, the woman with the issue of blood, she touched him and instantly she was made whole. Or the man at the pool of Bethesda, he had been down there and then the Lord was like, bruh, and then he healed him and he got up and he walked away. But what people don't understand is after that, what
Mm,
happens after that, because your mind's still going to talk, because you're still going to remember when you couldn't walk, when you couldn't do things. The one with the issue of blood, you always kind of self-conscious about, is it going to come back, is this going to happen? Like for me with my tumor, when I get a headache and stuff, it comes back. It's the thoughts of, okay, is it growing, is it this, is it that? And sometimes it's hard to convey that to other people,
yeah.
because all they hear and seen and saw was the miracle. But
Yeah.
they didn't understand the mindset that comes with that. Nor do I think people understand the torment that can come with that.
Mm,
Trying to just, because I know that's like a big word, but if you really
it's
think
a
about
great word. It's a perfect
it, it
word.
can be tormenting, because, like, what if the tumor come back? Then God didn't give me my miracle? That means
Mm.
you're gonna get more than one, right? But then you thinking, but I don't want nobody to think I was lying. I said God bless me with this house, and then 6 months later the house is gone.
Hmm.
That don't mean God didn't give you that house. Like,
Yeah.
but we get so caught in it. Like for me, there were days when I had went into a deep depression after the miracle.
Mm.
After I came out, after I realized that, I didn't have to have this trach, and I didn't have to go in the in-house rehab, and my faith was so strong, I was getting on lives and I was encouraging other people. But nobody was really understanding that I still needed someone to pour into me, that
Yes.
understood the after effect of me sleeping and then waking up but still sleep, and I'm going through this whole thing in my brain, in my dream, that I'm upside down, because that's the same thing that happened to me at the hospital. And I didn't understand. I had to grab hold to certain things and just kind of be like, hey Adrian, and had to grab hold of certain things. And then now I got people, also believers,
Hmm.
Christians, that saying don't do too much. Now, either I'm gonna stand on the miracle or I'm not standing on the
Right.
miracle.
Right. Right.
What does that mean? Because again, it's just like the woman with the issue of blood or the guy at the pool of Bethesda. He told him to pick up his bed and walk. So you
Yep.
telling me this thing I've been trapped in all these years, that this is the thing that's been holding me up. You telling me to pick that thing up and walk. And y'all know how we are, how church people can be. Don't be doing too much. What you want me to do? Either
By
I'm
you.
stand on God.
But that's why we have to be careful who is in our circle, who we're allowing to be around us, who's talking in our ear. I did a TikTok, I think it was last week, speaking on that same exact thing. When you're walking in faith, you're vulnerable. You
Mm-hmm.
are so vulnerable, and you have to protect your ear and eye gates. You have to protect, and you have to create a boundary of who's around you, because it could be dangerous what they're saying to you, because you don't want to come into agreement with anything.
Absolutely.
And really, we should have called this episode the aftermath of the miracle, because the word you use, torment, is the perfect word. It's interesting because a couple of years ago, I was in a cancer support group. I just really wanted to be around people that knew what I was feeling and what I was going through, because no one around me knew. right? And it was a very lonely place. But then I noticed in the support group, there was a lot of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to remove myself from the group. But what's interesting is there were a couple people that were in the group, one woman in particular. She was this older woman and she had been cancer free for, I think, I want to say like, she was way past, they say if it doesn't come back, if you don't have a recurrence in 5 years, you're healed, you're whatever. It had been way past them 5 years. And she was still coming to the support group because she was worried about, but what if? I still
Yes.
need to have this group because what if?
Yes.
And that's that torment.
Yes, and then people don't. I don't think people really understand. Like everybody want to come at the end when the clapping is there. Oh my God, praise God, He did it. But what people don't understand is even in that, like now, like faith is insanity. Like if I tell y'all right now that I chose not to go back to the doctor at the beginning of the year, and they'll see me in November, then that you would look at me and say that's insane. But what is this? But what is that? What if?
What if? But what
But
if?
I am determined that when I get there, it's gonna be whatever it's gonna be. I'm believing that it's gonna be gone and all that other kind of stuff. But I have to stand on God and my choice. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you can't tell people where your faith is at. They
No.
just have to see it because you don't want the naysayers either, because you don't need the naysayers and you in your own ear, because it isolates you a lot of times. You start feeling like people don't understand. And what I learned on this journey, and I don't know, and what makes it so lonely is in the beginning, a lot of people didn't do it intentionally, but they cut me off
Mm-hmm.
unintentionally. Like they didn't get together and have a meeting and say we ain't gonna fool with teacher no more. But that's literally what happened. Nobody, when I was going through major radiation, I didn't get the phone calls. I didn't get people checking up on me. I was in a literally, and I took a picture of it. I was in an empty room walking down a long hallway. A lot of times nobody else was in there. It was just me waiting to get my MRI done. And I had to lay on that thing for I think 30, 45 minutes with this thing over my face, and I couldn't move my head. And then I would go back to a hotel. My family was not there. My husband had to work. Him and the kids were at my mom. I'm in a hotel room by myself. Nobody was calling me. I was calling people, checking on them.
And
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 because
that's
it's
usually how it is.
unintentional. Like, you know what I'm saying? People withdraw unintentionally. It's like, okay, they done made it through this part. Okay, I done my part. But no, I still needed people to check up on me. I still needed people to say, hey, sis, I got you. Do you need anything? But
Yep.
because it's an unintentional act, I don't think people do it deliberately. I know they don't do it deliberately. It's just like, how did I even get to this place? Why am I feeling lonely? Why am I feeling depressed? Why? And fear is a major component of the torment because it's the what ifs that get you.
That's
What
true.
if it come back? What if I remember laying, getting the radiation and thinking, now what if this thing hit the wrong thing and what's gonna happen? And I mean, like
All the thoughts.
all kind of stuff was running through my head, and yet and that's when people always try to tell me, you know, what I always say is the strength of God. And then they'll say something like, yeah, but you had to do it. But no, it was God's strength. See, people don't understand that. It is God's strength. I'm going to always stand to him because me, Tisha would have been in a coma somewhere rocking like this
Rocking.
right here because
But you
I
know
don't.
what? Because people will give up. That's the thing. Because people can be they could receive a miracle, but sometimes have you ever thought why people don't receive their miracles? A lot of the times, and I've heard stories of people who have passed from their family members saying that they literally asked for permission, saying, I just don't want to deal with this, and they gracefully bowed out and did not receive their miracle. They could have. But you talked about people walking away. So I remember in 2019 when I had got the diagnosis and I had someone, we used to hang out all the time. Me and her were super cool. We were cool for the club, we were cool for brunch. But once I got that diagnosis, pew, she was gone. Still ain't never heard from her to this day.
And
you know?
again, a lot of people don't know how to deal with it. Like when I found
Exactly.
out about the brain tumor, I called my friend Nadia. I'm gonna call her name because she know I love her. I called Nadia and I said, Nadia, people say it's a brain tumor. Oh my God. She had to killed me. She literally was like, oh my God, God, you can't take my sister away. And I was like, wait,
Yep.
did God say he was gonna take me? Like,
Right.
who? Wait a minute.
And
Like,
I'm a
and she
yeah.
literally was like, she went on this long tangent about how God could not take me away from her. And
Yeah.
God ain't even told nobody he was taking me nowhere. This was just the diagnosis. And then
You
she
know what?
started,
Yep.
she'd call me because we dual chat each other. She'd be like, "Hey sis, how you doing?" And I'm
Oh,
like, "Well,
girl.
how you doing?" Because
You okay? You like
I'm
you're
okay.
the one going through it, but you got to check on her, because that's
I
how it was with
literally,
that's how it was with my younger sister. God bless her. Every time I talked to her, this girl, she was crying. I was like, "Bruh, you're crying more than I am," and that's the thing. So I had to. So in 2019, I had to be careful who I was talking to, because I started noticing anytime I said something to anyone about the diagnosis that I had just gotten, not you, but me, you looking at me, and I could see it in your eyes. I could
yeah,
see the doubt. I see the fear, and it's just like, are you serious? I found out later on, and, my ex-husband had said that my mom was like talking to, she's talking to me, woman of God. She's talking to me, telling me, "Oh yeah, everything's gonna be okay. God's got you." Then she talking to him, talking about, so who's gonna get the kids?
mm,
So
wow,
it's one of those things where it's like you have to truly be careful who you have around you. I'm quick to cut somebody off. I really truly am. I'm quick to cut somebody off if
and you
you
have
are.
to. You have to be
Yes.
willing. I had to learn that I had to cut certain people off during the process of my miracle, especially when you're in the healing process.
Ooh, when you're
Because now
vulnerable.
I don't came through the surgery now, but you still talking to me like I'm dead. You're still like, and it was weird because it was like, I ain't died. I came through. Y'all seen the miracle. We all witnessed this together. And yet you're still speaking as if it's not done or it's
Yeah.
not finished. And it's just
Yeah.
like, that's when you start feeling isolated, and you have to be okay. I was okay. Now I wouldn't, when after the radiation and stuff, I was not. It was hard for me to cut people off. But
Mm,
God told me either you cut them off, I'm gonna cut them off. And when I come through, you ain't gonna like it. So I literally had to step back from my friends. That was one of the hardest things I had to do because that's the only way I was gonna heal properly. Because I
mm-hmm.
was still too consumed about them
Yeah.
and not really taking the time to grieve what I had went through. I
Yeah.
didn't start grieving the surgery, the brain tumor, none of that stuff until I came into 2024. And I
This year.
realized going into the new year that I was severely depressed. So people did not even know I was posting pictures of me, posting updates from my bed. I was in my bed the whole time. I would get off, and because I always crack jokes that I can't cry out of both of them, but I can just cry out of this one. So tears just running down here because I have the miracle. Yeah, God did it, and God is continuously doing it, but I still feel lost. Because I don't know. Ain't nothing like going to sleep, trying to go to sleep, and you worrying if something loose up here in your brain, and or is the blood clot gonna shoot off, or some of this
Yeah.
stuff, and it's like, but you don't want to say it because you don't know what people are gonna say
Yep.
once you release that. And so I learned I was keeping a lot of stuff in. So when I went into 2024, I had to cut my whole crew off. Them
Yeah.
people had not done nothing
Mm,
to me, but I was doing it. God said, "You so focused," because we do that sometimes. We derail our energy to focus it
mm,
on somebody else so we don't have to deal with it. I
yep.
struggle with how I looked.
Yep.
I struggled with my hair coming out, and I had a big bald spot right here, and I had to cut my dreads off. The very thing I was so proud of because they had got so long, and I was so wounded on my own that remember having to tell myself, "Tisha, you're gonna have to embrace your ugly."
Mm,
And I remember just constantly reminding myself that I'm unique, genuine love, and simply me. Because here I am, the very thing that I used to torment me, the size of my lips. Now they done
mm,
shifted. They over here. And
mm.
so it's like now I can't smile like I want to. So now that whole self-esteem thing that I say I done got delivered over, oh, that
Yeah.
bastard came creeping back, right? Because again, what they tell us, if it get cast out, it's gonna come back with 7 more,
Seven
right?
strong. Yep.
I think people
7 more.
forget that happens with emotions. Fear.
Mm.
You cast out fear. You cast out doubt. Low self-esteem was going. All that stuff was going. I was on a high. But as
Yep.
soon as something happened,
Came
they came
crashing
back,
down.
knocked on the door.
But you know what? I will say this because, and this is one of the things that I absolutely, absolutely love about you, is because, well, actually, hold on. Let me back up before I say that. When we met, that means when we met, because we only met in January, you were going through that depression then.
Yep, absolutely.
And I can see, I don't want to say growth, but that's the best word that I can
I
use for
see it.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the very thing that you feel like you lost, your self-esteem, you are one of the most confident women that I know. And I believe it was sometime recently. I don't remember. You may have sent me a picture. I was looking at something of you. I may have just been talking to you in person, but I saw a glow that
Mm,
wasn't there before, you know? And so you've learned, like, okay, because even some people may not know, even prior to the brain tumor, you always had embrace your ugly. That was your
mhm.
brand. It's always been your brand. And so I, until I got to know you more, I didn't know that that was your brand prior,
Yep.
you know? And so you were able to, even without the hair, because I've seen the pictures, you were beautiful then, you're beautiful now, but your confidence. You posted a picture the other day, just the way you were standing, your pose, it's just like, that's my girl. That's my girl.
And that's how I feel. I'm glad you said it because my confidence, like even with my husband, I'd be like, babe, she fine. And and he's
And it
like,
is.
oh my God, Tisha, he's like, I love that. Like, even when I go in public, I'm not gonna lie. Dudes still be trying to holler. And at first I used to be like, what is wrong with them? But it's like that men love a confident woman. I don't care what
Yeah.
nobody say, honey.
Yeah.
You could be limping on one side. One of your legs can be shorter than the other. But if you got
Oh, there.
confidence, you gonna
Exactly.
get
Yep.
somebody's attention. And
Yep.
so even though during then I didn't have all these ailments because of this right here, my confidence manifested because you gotta, when I look in the mirror, I can't always see that one sided thing. It don't mean it's gone nowhere. It don't mean that at all. But it's just kind of like I can now look at my pictures, and I know a lot of people did not know this. I can now look at my old pictures and not grieve the person. I don't have a desire to go back to that.
Yeah.
Well, because a lot of times I had a cancer patient one time when I did a radio interview, and she asked me, she said, well, how do you go back to your old life? Once you got the diagnosis or
Mm.
once you've taken the radiation or the chemo. And I literally said, you ain't going back to that life. I will never be able to go back to that girl that had the straight smile. Now, mind you, even if the smile does straighten up and the eye does what it needs to do and the hearing comes back, I will never be her because this one has endured a thing. That one is gone. Like you or the song say, the old me dead and gone, dead and gone.
Yep.
That one is gone. So this one is the one that stands here. This is the one that's enduring this. This is the one that's walking in such a faith that it shocks me. Like I
Mm.
shock myself sometimes. So like now I catch myself changing how I dress, certain things that I wear, how I look. And when I walk in a room, I walk with my head held high.
Come
In
on now.
September of last year is when Simone at Cherry Blossom, the salon, shaved my head. And I remember when I looked in the mirror, she was shaving it. And I said, oh my God, she's so pretty. I'm so pretty.
Mm.
And I said
Mm.
it with all authenticity.
Yeah.
And I did want my hair to grow back because in my mind, it's going to grow back a different texture. I was like, it's going to be more curly. And I had this all in my mind and it was coming back. But then what also started to happen is that the patches.
Mm.
And I was like, and I didn't feel as confident. And I remember I
Yeah.
told my husband, I said, I got to do something. As a matter of fact, I had did a live in my
I
office.
saw your Facebook post.
And I left there and went straight to the mall and had somebody I don't even know. I said, you got to cut it off. And I
Mm.
had a wig on, a long wig. And he was like, ball? I said, oh, no, this ain't real. And I took it off. And, and he didn't speak English. His eyes just got real big. Well, I was so ready. Like I was so
Mhm.
ready. And when he started shaving it, I felt freedom.
Mm.
And I cannot explain it. I don't even know how to verbalize the freedom that I feel when I do. It's like the warrior in me. It's like Sheeta, that's her, that's me, that's I am her. The
Yeah.
confidence, like even when I talk, like they don't
Yep.
know that I was telling you my emotions have been everywhere. You know,
Yep.
like when I
Yep.
got on here, you wouldn't even they wouldn't even realize, really believe the conversation we had before we even got on here.
That's true.
And it's
That's
just like
true.
again, because that's the other part of the miracle. Because when I one day when I took my son went off to college and everything, last year this time I wasn't even thinking about that. Months
Yeah.
before that, last year this time I didn't even know if I was going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And so
But God.
when you really sit down and you say, God, I thank you. Like I don't say that just because he brought me through the surgery. I say that because it's embedded in me. That
Yeah.
that that hallelujah, it has
Mm,
to come out. That glory to God, it has
mm,
because I've seen him. I've
yeah.
seen him and I felt him. Like to be a miracle. Like when I look at you, Samantha, it's like that's why I think we click like we do because we understand where we're at in this journey.
Yeah.
And it's like talking to another miracle, like because he said
Yeah.
with two or three are gathered in his name, he gonna be in the midst. So
Come
he ain't
on.
got no choice but to be in the midst of these two
Every
miracles.
time. Every time. And the thing that we always do, we never fail to give him the glory. And
Always.
it's interesting that you talked about oh, what did you say? What is it? Mourning your old self.
Mhm.
So I had gotten so when someone is diagnosed with cancer, not everybody knows this, but you can go through a company called Emmerman's Angels and you can get a mentor. And so I was like, this is before the support group and everything I know about the support group. I was just like, I need to talk to somebody. I need this 2019. I'm like, I need to talk to somebody. So they paired me with this woman who had the same diagnosis I had. But when they paired me with her, she had just had a recurrence. So she's depressed. She's stressed out. She's just, I don't feel like she was a good fit for me. But she said something to me as the advice that she gave was you're going to have to mourn your old life. The way that she said it, I was so offended because here this woman is and then the thing is she said something that really upset me. She said that she's going through a recurrence because she said because with cancer it always comes back. I should have rebuked her then. I should have if I would have known. I would have rebuked her then. You hear me? But here was someone that was dealing with the recurrence, was already depressed, mentoring someone that just got a diagnosis and is depressed. And
Mm.
now you're telling this person, because at the time I was 38, turned 39. And at that time, and a lot of people don't know this, I didn't know until then, you're still considered, they call that a young adult. If you're under 40 in the medical industry, they call you a young adult. And so, and I was living my young adult life. We just had the conversation, I was in a club, I was doing girls trips, I was doing brunch, I was doing all the things. I'm like, I'm not, what you mean more in my old life? Like, no, my life was lit. What you mean? I'm not about to mourn my old
What you talking about, lady?
right? I'm like, I'm about to get through this and then get back at it.
Mhm.
So here's the interesting thing though. When I had the recurrence in 2021, when I got that diagnosis, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get through this and I'm gonna still get back to I'm gonna go out. I was, what is it? Outside. I was outside. I'm like, I'm gonna go back outside. I'm gonna have fun doing what I'm doing. Even through chemo, I went to the club a couple times. Not gonna lie. I was doing Tisha, I'm telling you it's Sam BC, Sam before Christ. I'm gotta be keep it real. But here's the thing. Now that I have truly, truly get surrendered and given my life to God, I'm not mourning that old life. I'm not mourning her. I don't want her. I don't want that life. You know what I mean?
It's a difference. Yeah,
It's
you why
so
what
different.
right. And because on this side, you learn so many other components. Like I had faith because again, when I did Embrace Your Ugly, I was talking about being raped as a child, being molested, being abused, being a bully, being bullied. That was for that phase.
Mm-hmm.
And that faith worked for that. The
Yep.
faith that got me through that is not the faith that I'm standing on today. Them two different issues. Those are two different situations.
Yep.
That I seen God, he would embrace me. You get what I'm saying? He was a comforter, and he's still those things, but over here, I get to see him as a physical healer.
Mm,
That I would
yeah.
I endured God. I embraced God in such a way that when I was in the day out, when I after I had my surgery that night, I don't care what nobody say. God sat on the side of my bed and us had a conversation. You know how like a parent or like your dad, because that's what it gave me, that kind of like that daddy moment. And
I
it
didn't
was
have
like he
that
was
growing up.
sitting
Sorry.
on the side of my say it again.
That's why I didn't have that growing up. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my dad was a different kind, but that's the feeling I got. And then that's when God, I literally seen the scriptures, and He started wrapping them around my feet. And it's like He wrapped my body in the Word, and that gave me a completely different understanding. See, we read the scriptures and we regurgitate the scriptures, but we don't actually like embody the word of God,
Mm,
because the word is life. He is the word. God is the word. Word is God. That's what it say. If you consume it,
mm,
you have no choice but to stand on it. So when I'm weak, when I'm depressed, when I'm lonely, when I'm doubtful, when I'm confused, I have to regurgitate what I've eaten, and I gotta stand on it. That's where my strength comes from. I have to stay, greater is he that is in me than he is not the author of confusion. There is no doubt in God, and I have to stand on his strength. This is not my own strength. My conversations that don't got nothing to do with me, because I know how I will react. I know that I would technically be in depression for a very long period of time. But God
mm,
say, not so. You got something that you got to do. And God ain't going to kick you out there all butt naked now. You ain't ready. He ain't going to do that. He's going to make sure that you're healing properly.
mm. Yep. Because if you're not healed properly, you can injure the next person. You can,
Absolutely.
and
Which
that's
is what
really,
could have happened with your mentor. She could have
and that,
injured
yep.
you.
But and that's exactly because even when I went in for my surgery, and the surgeon's nurse, oh my God, she was amazing. I loved her. She asked me, she said, something's wrong, and it's more than what's going on here. And I told her about the conversation and what the lady said. And she said, oh my God, that's terrible. Like, she was thrown off by it. It's just, but that's why you truly, truly have to be careful. And then, because of that situation, though, the social worker, when the social worker at Moffitt had asked me to become a mentor and asked if she could sign me up, I said yes, because I didn't want anyone to go through what I had went through.
And you had to endure that. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's funny how we kind of have to go through these ugly processes to get to the beauty of it. Like
Yeah.
I had to go through this process. A lot of them was with me in 2020 when I found out that I had the tumor, because I had
Yeah.
went live and I was like, ooh, these people say it's slow growing. Right. This is why the Bible simply say whose report is you gonna believe. Because this man told moi that I had until I was like 60, 80 years old. He said,
Mm.
don't even come back until you paralyzed. This is the conversation the surgeon done had with me. So I'm
Too
thinking,
late,
I'm
though.
good.
Come back until you when you're paralyzed. Even
Right.
that's bad advice.
Again, but I was like, oh, he said, I ain't got to worry about this until I'm like 60, 80 years old. Again, the hearing loss, all that kind of stuff. He said, don't worry about it. He said, because if anybody touches it, it will paralyze you. He said, but if it was me, I would go to radiation. So when I went to the radiologist and stuff, and I'm asking real in-depth questions, first of all, get out of that white coat syndrome. You better ask questions and be your
Yes.
own advocate. And if
Yep.
I don't care if they're saying something that you want to hear. Hello,
Mm.
Octavia. I don't care if they're saying something that you want to hear. You
Mm-hmm.
better investigate, because them people told me that this was gonna take at least 40 years to get to where I'm at right now in
Yeah.
2 years. Did those people lie? No, they did not. Because they not God. God already knew. Yeah, but I don't want this surgeon to touch you. And the
Mm.
team I need for you, it's going to take them about 2 years to get it together. And so for me, I'm always like this. I'm going to get that VIP treatment, right? So
Mm.
everybody couldn't touch this. Everybody
Yeah.
couldn't put radiation on this. Everybody
Yeah.
could come in and do this surgery in so much you can barely even see the
Oh
scar
yeah.
because she stitched it so good. But even
Mm-hmm.
in that, even in seeing all these beautiful things, what people don't know is that once I came out of the surgery and I had been laying there for so long, for 16 hours plus, that my foot took months to get back to normal because they would start tingling.
Was it
I didn't
neuropathy?
understand what I was like, oh my God, am I gonna lose feeling in my feet? Like, what's really
Mm-hmm.
going on? Like, I
All
don't
the thoughts.
understand. Because they would just really, I mean, literally, and it took months. And I'd just be laying there and it would just like, you know how your foot fall asleep?
Yep.
That's what was happening. And I was like, oh my God, I got to get this circulation back. That's when I started really understanding, really getting into the oils, the essential
Mm-hmm.
oils. And I
Yep.
started understanding the importance of massage. And then they
Mm-hmm.
know, like some of you guys know. And then I went to the dentist, and 2 days later, I got lockjaw. So now I can't eat. And this round about, it was round about Thanksgiving time. Y'all know I'm
Nah,
greedy.
friend, not you, not girl. Because I
Samantha, you
say,
know I'm greedy.
I say, all of our conversations, it's about God, food, and then business.
There we go. Why? Because I'm always trying to eat. So again, now I got lockjaw. And I can be like I could open it, I couldn't yarn, I could laugh, but I couldn't do nothing else. And they was like, well, we need you to go to the dentist because they seen something that was unidentifiable here, but they didn't know what it was. But now I can't chew. Oh, Houston, we have a whole problem. So I had my husband ran my food and I was eating like mashed potatoes and I was working it. Like I will purposely open it, open it. I went to my friend Tamika. She
Well,
massaged
nothing
it.
gonna
I said,
stop
we got
you.
to do something because I'm not going back to nobody else to give me nothing else. I'm going to have to stand on God, and God know my tail is greedy. He going to let me eat. Now, you going to either I'm be depressed and angry. That's not going to work. Now, what we going to do? So within like 2 months, though, it went away. Like literally, it just one day I had yarn and nothing happened. And I was like, within 2 months, it was gone, like completely gone. And again, in the midst of what I'm going through, God's still performing miracles. And I think what we forget to do is we forget to give him glory. Like you got to get, it may not look, the miracle didn't look like how Tisha wanted it to look. You get what I'm saying? I would have preferred that they looked and the tumor was gone, and I didn't have to do radiation, and I didn't have to do 2 surgeries, and my mouth didn't have to shift. But God, he knows how, because of that, I met some amazing people that I still communicate with this day. And that he a miracle all by himself. Like his name is Ron. Amazing. The staff there, even the surgeon that did my surgery had to come and see me because he was in disbelief when everybody was going to tell him she talking. She communicating. She is literally alert. And he was like, nah, there ain't no way. There's no
You
way.
know, I wanna touch on something. So, imagine. So you were in radiation June of last year, right?
I started radiation July of last year.
Okay. Because I'm trying to think April, May, June. Because I was in radiation around the same time, but 2 years prior, 2 years ago.
Immaculate.
Here's the thing. So, and this is really what started this whole episode. You posted a picture of sitting in the hospital waiting for radiation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was no one around. No one. And I left a comment on that picture because it hit me in my gut. Because here's the thing. When I got the diagnosis for the recurrence, it was November 2021. So I was not like, baby, you're not gonna bother me. We just got done with my birthday on November 8th. It was Thanksgiving, and then we had Christmas, which is also my baby's birthday, and then New Year's. We're not bothering nothing. So they scheduled chemo for January. I ended up with COVID. They had to push it back. And so with everything going on, then I had to go in, I had to get the port put in my chest. And then we finally started chemo, did all of that, and everything was busy, phone ringing, constantly text message, people checking on me. Um, and then, people come to the house and I had, the people coming to pray and all of that. And then came out of that, had friends come into town so we could celebrate. We got finished chemo, celebrated at the club again, Sam BC.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so it was constantly go, 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 go. All that noise stopped, everything stopped, but I was still focused because now I had to go into radiation. And so every day going to radiation by myself, you know? And then I had to go every single day for 5 days. And then coming out of that, I don't know what happened from the diagnosis in November to coming out of radiation in like June. I was fine. I was okay. But coming out of that, all of a sudden, everything was quiet. No phone calls, no text messages, no nothing. And that's when everything hit. The social worker had called to check on me. She's an amazing one. She's so amazing woman. And no, I had reached out to her because I had gotten so bad. I was like, I need to talk to someone. I need a therapist. I need something because my mental health was declining. And I had went in for a scan, and the doctor, and this is the nurse practitioner, she was like, hey, I got this message from Olivia, the social worker. What's going on? And I told her, I said, I feel like now is the time that I should be rejoicing. I should be uplifted. I feel like crap. I don't want to get out of bed. I'm crying. I'm depressed. I know what it is. It's depression. And she said, the thing is, for months, you've had us telling you where to be and when. And you've been so focused on healing. You've been so focused on what you're supposed to do. And now all of a sudden, because literally, Tisha, it was for months, something going on all the time, every day, all day. And then it just went silent. And so that's really when reality set in. That's when the voices start coming, the, oh, is it going to come back? What's happening? What's this? What's that? And then to make it so worse, I'll never forget in the moment in this time, I didn't know that it was going to be the best thing to ever happen to me because I'm sitting there one day, this November 2022. Um, I'm calling a friend. She's not answering. I'm calling anyone that I could call. No one is answering. And Tisha, when I tell you, I just remember laying on my bedroom floor in the fetal position, crying harder than I could. Now, mind you, the radiation, all that, I'd been done since June. This is November. This depression went on for months and it kept getting worse and worse. No one's answering the phone. Hi, JoJo. Mm-hmm. No one's answering the phone. No one is checking on me. And I'm laying on the floor crying. And the only word I could get out was Jesus. And I just kept saying it over and over and over again because I had no words. I had never been this rock bottom. And that was when I finally said, I give my life to you. I can't do this anymore without you. And had it not been for everyone not being there, who knows how much longer would it took for me to give my life to God. And the thing is, one of the people that had called and they didn't answer the phone, it's because she was mad at me about something. And when I finally did talk to her, when she finally did call, and I told her, I said, you know, there was a time that I needed you, and I was just really down and depressed. And she said to me, but everything was done. You were out of chemo. You were out of radiation. What you sad for? That's why your picture like hit something in me, like, and that's why I told you, I said we need to discuss this topic because how many people are alone in their miracle? They don't have people of faith around them, and so they have to isolate themselves. So it's just them and God to get them through what they need to get through. That's a lonely time because sometimes God is speaking to us, but we don't always hear him. Mm-hmm. He's with us. We don't always feel him. Mm-hmm. And then that makes us feel even lonelier.
And I think people need to understand that that's also a normal part of the process. Like if you really think about it, okay, we not Jesus, but let's just talk about what happened to him, right? He done had a whole crew this whole time. Now he
Yeah.
about to go through to his next glory. And then
Mm.
what happens? Now it's just he done cut it down from that 12 to now it's just three of them jokers.
Yep.
And then he really needed them. Like he was like, look, can I just need y'all to pray with me? And then jokers done fell asleep. And in the midst of them falling asleep, that's when he was able to what? That's when he went over there and had them conversations with the two, right? And then he went back and said, y'all couldn't even stay with me 1 hour. And then he was like, you know what? Clearly the spirit is willing, but that flesh is a mess, right? And it's just like we get to the place where we forget that he understands a lot of the things that we went through, and we're not exempt from going through stuff because he chose us. Right? People be like, oh, I'm chosen of God. And a lot of y'all think that that's just laying hands, prophesying, speaking in tongues. And no, 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 no. To be chosen, you got to go through some stuff. Like I can't talk to you about faith if I ain't never stand on faith, if I don't know what faith is, and embracing God in those darkest hours. And like when you say you was down there and all you could say was Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. In my mind, I was like, oh, that's she had a old fashioned terrorist service. That's what we used to do at the church. Like we used to have to go down there and just say Jesus, 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 Jesus. That's how we used to get them, girl. I know you weren't grew up in a church, but that's how we used to get them, Samantha. Okay, the mothers tell us we had to come to the altar. We all had to go to the altar, and we couldn't, but nothing else. Because we know how to speak in tongues. We just go say Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. We don't say it so much until it sounds like we saying cheese, right? Because at this point, that's all I got for you. And that's literally like when you said, I was like, oh, she had an old fashioned terrorist coming to Jesus, right? But you needed those moments. Like, even though I don't like the lonely moments, it's in those moments where I felt him most. It's in those moments when I was able to honestly feel like him embrace me. And but sometimes in those moments, what I did unintentionally was I was rejecting his embrace because I was looking for it to come through a friend, you know, somebody else. One of my friends called me and one of my friends hugged me or check on me or this, that, and the third. And it's like I don't ever want to get in a position when I'm so dependent on other people that I reject the Father's embrace. Like I never, but that's what I was doing unintentionally. Because you think about it. Oh, so and so ain't calling to check on me, or you know, like they ain't doing this and they ain't doing that. It ain't meant because it's just like you said when you were reaching out, it was not meant. In that moment, he said, "I need to get to Samantha because this miracle ain't gonna come through them. This miracle gonna come straight through me. And when I'm finna put her at, she can't. Everybody can't be there. Everybody ain't on the Isle of Patmos. Everybody didn't have the privilege to see what John saw, the Revelator. He had to be what? Isolated. It's like in those moments is when God is able, when you think about who was it that was in the mountain and God was feeding him, the dirty bird was feeding him, the raven was coming to get him. So I can't think of the man's name. But it's like in those moments is when you see God that in spite of what I think and in spite of what I feel, because in the miracle, this is what people got to understand: depression will come.
Yep.
Loneliness, that helper. She be like, hey, friend, man, we gonna be like and you bonding with her. And loneliness is dangerous because she talk. And then loneliness be like, girl, look at you. Because for me, girl, look at you. Your face jacked up. Your hair, you sitting up there agreeing with her. Like you was
Come
like,
on now. Yep.
yeah, that's true. That's true. And you still getting headaches. I mean, did you really get a miracle?
There you
And
go.
before you know it, now loneliness and her friends self-doubt, they done came in.
Oh,
Now
because
it's
they
two of
travel
them jokers.
together. It's a
Yeah,
whole
now
party.
it's two of them jokers. And then on top of that, you got low self-esteem because they identify all the other stuff that's wrong with you. And so now it's this wall, right? That's forbidding you to see or even feel what it is that you need to see and feel because you already feel rejected. See, that's what happens. I started to feel rejected because I remember thinking I would never do my friends like this. I'm gonna be the one get on their nerves. I'm gonna be calling too much. These
Yep.
jokers not even calling to check on me, and I was so that I didn't even realize that. But you're not even stopping to tell God thank you.
Mm.
God brought you through this 16-hour surgery. But the day that God brought you out of radiation, do you know that things happen to people during, like all this stuff? But because I was looking for it to come some other way, that unintentionally I was rejecting that lonely time because I didn't want to hear those thoughts. Because loneliness, she loud. She got a whole lot to say. And she don't
Louder
come
than
out.
God is.
Say it again.
She's louder than God is.
Absolutely. And and be screaming at you too. And then
Yep.
you don't even realize it. You just sit up there like, that's right. That's so true. And then
Coming in
someone
agreement.
you to
Coming in
call
agreement
you.
with it.
And now you done bonded with it. And
Into
now you
agreement
and
with it.
loneliness friends. And then when people try to come around, here you go. Because loneliness like where they was at when you really needed them. So here you go. I mean, you weren't here before. Don't even worry about it now. And now you still
Phone.
lonely.
Nope. Yep. I'm not gonna answer my phone. I'm
Yeah.
gonna watch it ring. You texting. I'm not gonna text back because where were you?
Where were
But
you?
that's the thing that God taught me because some of these things get stuck in my head. But I know you've heard people say you got to go to the throne before you go to the phone. But I was
It's
going
true.
to the phone first. I was calling, but I've learned. So, like, I didn't have the best day at work today. But guess what I did before I called you?
You
I
went to
put
that
on that.
throne.
I went to the throne. I put on my worship music, started driving home, and then when I hit that traffic, I said, "Okay, now let me call Tisha. I got it all out, gave it to God. Now let me talk to her."
And then once you give it to him, this is what we gotta learn, y'all. Once you hand it to him, you don't have to rediscuss it. And even if you do rediscuss the very thing that you took to him, you don't have to rediscuss it in the same tone or mannerism, right? You ain't got to be all engulfed in it because that's what I'm learning. Like, you don't have to tell nobody what happened. You don't. And then there are times where it's like God will be like, yeah, you need to get this out. Just go and talk to somebody. Because the Bible says seek not ungodly counsel. So that don't mean you ain't supposed to talk to nobody. That just means at some point you gotta, what are you looking to get from them? Right? What am I looking for them to correct my situation? They can't. So sometimes you have to call your friends and be like, I just need you to listen. I'm not asking no advice. I just need you to hear me. I just need a shoulder right now. And that's it. And the friend has to be okay with that. And sometimes when people don't know what to say, don't get offended by that because I know a lot of people that listen. When I went vegan, I had that surgery. Nobody want to tell me that I look like a baby crackhead. Nobody want to tell me, y'all. I went down to 185, Samantha. Okay, and I remember that my husband was looking at my ankles. My ankles had been that small since I was like 8. Okay, them things was like Samantha. And so I remember like I'm looking bad and ain't nobody saying nothing. And then my friend Teresa, first of all, my stepdaddy, he the first one that he was the one told me the truth because I had backslid. I told y'all I had went back to eat meat for like 3 weeks. And he had went to Maryland's Fried for me. And he came in that room. He said, I'm glad you eating, girl. He said, because your mama told me you was out the door. He said, I went out there and I couldn't even find you. You know you got a Jamaican. You know they like women with meat on their bones. Eat this chicken. Girl, I was dying. And then my mother's pastor, Pastor Pam at Grace Tabernacle, I was standing up there. She said, oh, Tisha, we got to eat. I got to get you some biscuits and gravy, girl. She said, yeah. She said, I'm glad you came through, but you got to get and gain his weight back. Then my friend Teresa, she came and picked me up. I had gained some weight. And you're still kind of self-conscious about it. I had gained a little weight. She said, there go my friend. There go Tisha. I said, thank you. Because these jokers my mom or my husband would not tell me that I was looking like a little baby crackhead. Nobody wouldn't say it. Because again, skinniness, if it's because you're not feeling well and you're not trying to exercise, it was just coming off because again, I was depressed. So therefore, I really was not eating. Because if I don't eat meat, I still have to get my proteins. You know what I'm saying? Like I got to get the beans and stuff. I wasn't even eating any of that stuff. I was just, and then what was making it so bad, my taste buds had came back on this side. So now I'm sitting.
Taste buds go.
Okay, this side of my mouth, I don't have any I have feeling, but like my taste buds and stuff in my tongue, oh yeah, they gone. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. Like
Oh.
Like a lot of people don't really understand that when I say I'm literally a miracle, like I have no hearing
Mhm.
over here. The
Mhm.
muscles over here, they gone. Okay, the tumor had already crushed them because the type of tumor that I had, the tumor, the nerves turned into a tumor. So when the nerves was jacking up and all that kind of stuff on this side, my face was already twitching a little bit. So when they removed the tumor, they removed the nerves. So when we do this and we keep doing this when miracles speak, and then y'all start seeing this mouth straighten up, and I be like, I can hear, or this I do what it's supposed to do. No, then that ain't nobody but God, because I don't have surgery. I don't have the nerve. Okay, I'm saying again, these nerves is gone. When them people took that stuff out of on this side, they took the nerves with them.
And those are the unexpected parts of the miracle because, as I mentioned before, when they took the tumor out in 2019, I ended up with nerve damage. I had nerve damage. I had no feeling in my lower right side of my back, and then no feeling in my upper right leg. Well, the feeling in my back came back over a period of time. My right leg, upper right leg, there's no feeling, but you know, I'm believing because the doctor said if over time, if it doesn't come back, it'll just feel like I never had feeling there to be. No, sir. No, I know that for the past that I'm 43. This happened at 38. I know for 38 years I had feeling in this leg, sir. And no, it doesn't matter how long it's been. I know this feeling's supposed to be there. So I will say, so I don't know what's going on, but a few weeks ago, I think it was like our second episode that we had. That night, I had woke up middle of the night because I had like these sharp shooting sensations in that part of my leg, enough to wake me up in the middle of the night. So I'm just believing that God is going to do something
I feel
because,
wind blow on this side, on this ear,
yeah,
it'll startle me. It's like really quick and it startles me, and I just like, okay, God, because again, miracles are everywhere. You just got to be in position to see them. And some of you are thinking like, we're not just, it don't have to just be a physical miracle. Like everybody, all of us need miracles. Okay. Some miracles may seem like this person needed more than the next person, but you just got to learn how to stand on God, like, and get engulfed in his word, and don't just be around people that's gonna be like your yes man, or that one that's gonna be. You need somebody who know the word and who know how to give you the word, but who also know how to shut up and just listen and be sensitive. Don't be that friend that be like, "Oh, you was on my mind for 2 weeks," and don't tell me that. Don't tell me I was on your mind for 2 weeks and you ain't called me, because that's more offensive than you just saying, "Girl, you was on my mind," and then call. Don't say it was 2 weeks, because more than likely I needed you 2 weeks ago. If God is telling you that, if God is dealing with you, a lot of y'all want to be gifted, and you are, and that, but you're not listening, because it may not be, you may not necessarily have a word for that person. You just may need to call them because they need somebody to talk to. And don't be like, oh, that person always strong and she don't need nobody, because that's a lie. Because I get that a lot. I used to, my
yep.
friends used to say that, John, girl, I don't know what to say to you, because that's first of all, and you're helping me stay in this prison of loneliness.
Mm,
That's the dumbest thing you could ever tell somebody, especially a strong person, because I'm
yep.
gonna listen. Now I ain't
Yep.
gotta agree with you because I am stubborn sometimes, but that don't mean I'm not taking heed to what you're saying. And on top of that, that makes me feel good. When you say, "Hey friend, I'm just calling to check on you," or "Hey friend, God told me this," or "God showed me this," that makes me feel like, dang, I am seen.
And that's the thing that I noticed about you. That's why before last week when we were supposed to record, that's why I called. I said, do you feel up to this? Do you want to do this? Because and then I was mad at myself for not asking you sooner,
Mm,
and I was like, I should have asked her earlier today, not while we sitting here talking about to go live, you
yeah.
know, but I was
And it
just
made me
like,
feel good though. It really did.
it
Because
it
I'm
just mhm. Go ahead.
sick.
No, because it's and but then the thing that I loved after that, we still sat and we talked for who knows how long, because it's just because you are that strong person, and maybe you don't always have the space to be vulnerable. And, because I know with me being the strong person, it gets exhausting. And people are like, you know, they'll check on you, but then the whole next hour is like, okay, but me, I'm going through. And it's like, when you ask me how I was doing, did you even mean
And I literally, we just had a conversation. Remember, I told you about a friend I had. I said, I think she just took my goodies in love
it?
because
Yeah.
again, I'm gonna pour into you, literally everything that I got, and
Mhm.
I'm gonna do it authentically.
Yeah.
But don't just take what I got and then just leave me hanging. And I'm
Yeah.
learning like it's okay to cut them off, release them, and let it go. We can't dwell on this all day, you know.
That's it.
And so
To
learning
each
that.
other.
Right. And then I think that's what makes a difference. And understand, like, it's a few people on here watching. Like, there are shifts. Like, when you're going through certain things, I don't care if you and your road dog been together since y'all came out y'all mamas. Baby, she might not be ordained to be with you in that moment.
That part.
Don't take that personal.
Yeah.
Don't take that separation personal because sometimes, a lot of times, that's God. Because God already know this person ain't got what you need right now. When I was going through radiation, it was strangers
Mm.
that was able to give me what I needed. It was not necessarily those that were closest to me. And I came out feeling resentful as if I didn't get what I needed. I did. It
Yeah.
may didn't come the way I wanted to come. It might didn't look like how I wanted it to look. It may didn't even sound like how I wanted it to sound, but I
Mm.
still got it. And that's
Yeah.
when you learn gratitude. My encouragement came through Debbie, Miss Debbie, that I met while I was going through radiation. She didn't have radiation, but it was her husband that was getting radiation. I'm talking about it was not my tumor was benign, his was not. His tumor is extremely rare that he
Mm.
had to get strapped into the MRI machine. He had radiation pellets he had to take. It was a lot. And here I am talking to her, and I'm just excited to see her, right? And she talking to me. That was all the encouragement I really needed because it's
Yeah.
lonely. Sitting in that
So
room, you know,
lonely.
Samantha, by
Mm.
yourself, waiting on them to call your name.
Yeah.
And you don't even, you just, it ain't nobody that you, and the cool part about what people don't know about the MRI machines is that they play music. And
Yes.
so I was like, play the gospel music, and I always picked the long songs because I knew how many songs. Because again, it kind of make you phobic because you got this thing on your head,
Yeah.
holding your face, and it was like I made sure I picked long songs too,
Yeah. I
so
didn't
that
think
way.
about that. I was like, put on Tupac.
No, girl, I was listen. I'm what the Lord song. He's a healer, like that. And then I had them go old school because again, I knew in that moment like that I needed that to calm me because I wasn't. And then when I would get out, and ain't nothing like coming out and there's nobody in the hallway. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just you and the nursing staff because there ain't nobody else's turn to come up next. So you would come very close. I became very close with the people in that short period of time that I didn't know what it was from, but I knew we was all in there. We all had some type of tumor or we needed some type of radiation for something. And those are the people that I bonded with in that moment. And you see people who, when I first seen him, he looked real healthy. By that last week or so, within weeks, the next time I saw him, he had lost so much weight, he was unrecognizable because he had the cancer in his throat. And see, seeing those things make you even the more grateful. Like, oh God, you don't say why me. You just say thank you
Thank you.
because it could honestly be worse.
You know, it's interesting because there's one thing that I had forgotten about even on my journey and the loneliness. Excuse me. I had in the beginning that in 2019 they had sent me for something called a PET scan. And so where I knew that I was going to be injected with something and put in a machine to see if there were it because basically if anything lights up it's cancer. And so I was going in to make sure that it hadn't spread or anything. Well, I didn't know that it's whatever they inject you with, it's radioactive. So I was not allowed to be around my kids. I wasn't allowed to be around pregnant women. I wasn't allowed to be around old people for a whole 24 hours until it flushed out of my system. So here, the only people I want to be around are my children. And I had to literally be in my room. There's a certain number of feet they had to be away from me. And I was like, I'm just going to be in my room and close the door. You know, um,
See, I don't
I
think people know that. Like, even after I
no,
had my radiation treatments, they was like, do not get pregnant for 6 months. Now, granted, mother ain't trying to
no,
get pregnant. But dang, what is you doing?
girl, they
What's
told me a
in our
year.
body?
They told me a year. I was like, no, no, I'm good.
Look,
No,
don't worry about mother not trying to get no baby, but wait a
we're
minute.
good.
Like,
No, no, thank you. I know it's 8 o'clock, but I want to share a recent testimony.
okay.
So last month, was it July? Yeah, last month, I was on the phone with you every day because I was going through it. Oh, look, it's the grace of God. I made it out July. You hear me?
Mm.
And I just want to tell this to encourage anyone that is listening now or may listen in the future, because we talk about these miracles, and sometimes, like, we could say that we're praying for a miracle, we're hoping for a miracle, and we don't really believe that we're hoping or praying for a miracle. We're just saying it because it sounds good, you know? We're saying it because we don't want to say anything positive. We're saying it because we don't want to say what's really on our mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So last month I had got really sick, you know. Um this is what can I say? I guess we could say, well, COVID been going around. It's been going around. And so I was laid up. I was laid up really sick, fever, coughing so bad, my ribs hurt and everything. And then, the thing that freaked me out, Tisha, is when my legs swelled up and I was in so much pain I couldn't walk. And
And I
I'm
remember
not,
we was on the phone and you was trying to make it to the car and you was out of breath.
I was hurting so bad. I didn't know what was going on. I'd never gone through anything like this. But something in me just kept trusting in God, trusting in God. And so I went to church, and it was a Wednesday night. And at the end, well, let me start by, I was getting out of my car, trying to walk to the church, could barely walk, in pain. And I ran into a friend outside, and she was like, oh my God, what with me? I'm like, girl, no, a burger will not touch these lips ever. Maybe some fish. No, 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 no. So I get in there after service. I'm talking to the bishop, and I asked him a question, but then I'm like, well, while I'm standing here, I'm gonna just tell him that my legs are swollen, it hurts, and he's gonna pray for me. So he prayed for me, and as soon as he let go of my hands, I said, I thanked him, said goodbye, and I had been in pain for weeks. This has been going on for like 2 weeks straight. So when I stepped away, I turned around, my didn't come. It literally left me. And I had never experienced healing so quickly on a level such as this. Turn around, and I literally on my feet, my normal body literally felt the glory of the Lord. It was so amazing. And I stood there, and the friend that was standing outside the church that saw me limp up to the church, she realized I'm not in pain anymore. And she said, what happened? What happened? And I said, I went, I talked to him, and I told him, and I'm like bugging out, right? I'm like, he prayed for me, and then it was gone. So I look at my phone as I'm walking to church, and I missed a call from you. I was like, I got this, I got it, because I'm like, she knows about it. And so you had something to tell me, I had something to tell you. And I was like, you go first. And as I'm talking to you, as soon as I walked out the church and I stepped on the sidewalk, walked to my car, that's when the pain just came rushing back into my legs 10 times worse. And I literally, I had to ask you for prayer. I said, Tisha, I can't get to my car. I could see my car, but I couldn't get to it. thank God for you praying me to my car. So everything ends up working out, but I'm like, what went wrong? I had the healing. I had the healing. And this is why it's so important to have friends that are men and women of God, because your prayers helped me get to the car when I had no energy or lung capacity to get to my car.
Like you was breathing so heavy. It was weird. It was weird just
And it
to even
came at a,
experience that on the other end. And I was just like, remember, I was like, "What's your daughter number? What's her number like?" Yeah,
so then I'm a couple days later, I'm on the phone with a friend, again, woman of God. And I told her what happened. And oh my God, the way that she opened my eyes. She said, and she was just as calm as can be as I told her what happened. And she said, so you went to him, he prayed for you, and then you said that you braced yourself for pain because you had been in pain so long. She said, so you went to him for prayer just because it was the thing to do. Where was your faith? And when she said that, I said, oh my gosh, she's absolutely right. So next time I'll go to church, and there was an altar call. It was for something completely different, but I went up there because, your girl used to struggle with worry, and that we were praying against worry and some other things. And I go up there and I talk to him, and I said, I'm still having that issue with my legs. And so he's like, okay. So he prays again, but this time, and this is what I love, this time it was as if everything I got to redo, because I'm standing there at the altar. He prays for me. And instead of bracing myself for the pain to come, I received the healing. And by faith, I stepped away from him, expecting not to feel any pain. And when I tell you that pain was gone and has not come back, and
praise
what I
God.
love, the same friend that saw me the first time, she was standing behind me again. And all she did was she just stretched out her arms, and I just went to her arms and she hugged me. And it was amazing. And so my advice to anyone that's going through anything, you're waiting for healing, you're waiting for a miracle, no matter what it is. If you're going into it like I did in that first prayer, and I wasn't bracing myself for faith, instead bracing myself for pain, if you're going into it just because it's the thing to do, then that's probably not gonna happen. God does have grace, so maybe it will, maybe it won't. Who am I to say? But if you're going into it with faith that God is going to give you what you ask him in prayer, it's gonna happen. And that's what happened for me. And all I can do is thank God. I wake up each day now and I'm just like, I thank God now, because something like walking, I've been doing it 43 years, and I took it for granted. I could get up and get out of my bed and it doesn't hurt. During those weeks that I was in pain and my legs were swollen, I couldn't even go to the grocery store. I couldn't do anything. I could barely make it to the bathroom, and so God is amazing. So anytime that we're asking God for anything, we really truly do have to believe in our hearts that it's done, that Jesus died on the cross for us, and that we're
That
already
is
healed.
done. Yeah, and you got to operate as such. And
You
that's a
have to.
constant thing. Like I tell people all the time, faith is something you got to put on every day. You got to go to sleep in the faith, and you got to wake up in the faith, and midday you got to put the faith back on. Like it's a constant thing, because again, faith without works is dead. And a lot of us want to believe God, but we don't want to put the work in. It's just like people saying, I'm believing God gonna heal me from diabetes, but you eating all the food you ain't supposed to heal. Clearly you don't want a miracle. You want him to do it so you can keep doing what it is that you're doing. There are some people that'll get the miracle and they ain't got to go through a whole process. They'll get the miracle and go back to whatever life that they was living. That
Yep.
may not be your testimony, because that's not my testimony. So I have to stand on God 100. Like, and we come in contact with miracles every day, all day. We always in contact with miracles, but we don't realize that. Like when she was talking about that, I was like, man, like my godmother passed away. He had a brain tumor, which was cancerous, and the brain tumor, the one he had was so rare. It's like 0.0003 or something within like 1,000 or so people. So it's that extremely rare. He got diagnosed when he was 20. Technically, he was only supposed to live 3 to 5 years. He lived 12 years,
Mhm.
right? In the midst of that, he's believing God. He had not had the brain surgeries and everything. He was still believing God, but what he did was he learned and did research and studied what makes the tumor shrink. What does
Mhm.
this? What does that? So he started eating beets, and literally the tumor was shrinking. He started changing his body because you can have faith and believe that God is going to
Yep.
do. And guess what? He will definitely do it.
Yep.
However, how are you carrying yourself in that act? What are
Mhm.
you doing in that act? I can't perform the miracle, but what I can do is say, okay, I'm gonna appreciate it. I'm gonna treat my body like the temple that it is. Because
Yep.
research begins to tell you like how tumors are and what you eat, what you consume, stress, worry, all that kind of stuff. That's what I
Mhm.
started noticing about my headaches. When I was worried, I would get the headaches. Why worry? If I'm gonna trust and rest in God wholeheartedly.
Yep. Yep.
See, that's something you got to do wholeheartedly. You can't play with that. You got to
No.
literally rest in God. And I'm
Yep.
learning how to do that. And I'm learning how to rest in Him even when I feel lonely, even when I feel like I'm by myself. And I'm telling y'all this, like, don't feel like you're by yourself. Don't do that because you're not. He is there with you. He's always there with you. He said He'll never leave you nor forsake you. And you got to stand on that. Now, sometimes He'll be quiet. Because he said in the Old Testament, he told them jokers, he said, I turned my back on you for a brief moment because y'all jokers wasn't acting right. But
Yep.
nonetheless, he with you. So we want to leave you with that. Like, be be encouraged, but
Mhm.
also be empowered. And
Yep.
how are you going to be empowered? With the word. Get around people who know how to give you the word. Get around people who know how to pray. Don't expect people to be you and give you what you would give them.
Yep.
Respect people where they're at and receive them and understand where they're at. And you won't have to be as, I don't know, it won't have to be so, you won't feel as disappointed per se. It does not mean that you won't feel lonely. It does not mean that depression won't come knocking on your door. It does not mean that you will not be angry because there were days that I was extremely angry. What it means is that God will embrace you and give you the strength. I don't stand on my own strength. Samantha does not stand on her own strength. We stand in the strength and will of God. Because once I accepted his will, that it was his will that I have surgery, not one but two. It was his will that I go through radiation. It was his will that the tumor died, but it was still swelling. That was all his will. Once I yielded my own will to his will, the strength of God began to take over because I'm no longer trying to do it myself. I'm
Mhm.
letting him do it. Like Sam said, she wanted to learn how to rest. She's learning how to rest in God. Yeah, that's what we
Yep.
all need to learn how to do, rest in God.
Yep.
So anything else
Yep.
you want to say, Samantha?
Yep. That's a listen, because the whole thing is, here's the interesting thing. God had told me, and it's when I go back and look through my TikTok videos, God had been telling me to rest, and I didn't know exactly what he meant. I rested all of July. I barely
Good.
left my house. I was down the whole month. He was telling me to rest. And the thing was, he gave me the warning beforehand. He had been telling me to rest. And I was being hard headed, so he made me have to rest. And the thing is, it even in that time, it strengthened my faith. I saw
Right.
things and experienced things I never did. I've seen people go to the altar and get healing, you know, but sometimes you wonder. You could be skeptical until it happens to you. So
How about one of the ladies that was on here? She texted me. I didn't see it though. She was like, "Hey, get out my conversation." Because again, we all have those moments. I literally just looked and seen it on my phone. So
I
again,
love
next
it.
week we'll be back. Next week we don't know if we're gonna have a guest. I think we will. We're not sure. Just like be out here in these streets, life. But we're gonna our commitment is to be here every Tuesday unless otherwise. We'll let you know if something go down. But if it's again, it's when miracles speak, Testimony Tuesday. And again, testimonies can be those things that you overcome. We're overcome by the words of our testimony. And also it's our truth and where we're standing. We're gonna always want to connect and be led of God. So that way when we speak, we know that it is God. So y'all have a great rest of the week. And we seek life and that more abundantly. Samantha?
Until
I
next
couldn't
time.
hear what you said.
Have a blessed night, everybody. Until next time.
That's what I'm thinking. Until next time, y'all.